Macmillan Audio presents Nick of Time, An Adventure Through Time by Ted Bell. Read for you by John Shea.
Chapter 1. The Jaws of Greystone Rock. 3 June, 1939, off Greybeard Island. "Heartily, me boys!" shouted Nick McIver over the wind. "We'll be smashed to smithereens in the jaws of Gravestone Rock!" The dog Jip barked his loud agreement. Nick, at the helm of his small sloop, Stormy Petrel, that afternoon was almost at the end of his first day-long voyage around Greybeard Island. He was hard on the wind, making a good 7 knots as he tacked homeward. Just now he was approaching the treacherous reefs that guarded the entrance to Lighthouse Harbor. Jip on the bow was howling into the strong headwind, enjoying the pounding sprays of seawater every bit as much as his skipper. But now Nick was watching the western sky and the rapidly rising seas uneasily. Maybe he should have nipped inside the huge Gravestone Rock in the lee of this wind. Probably should have known better than to sail the long way home in weather like this. Should have done this, should have done that, he silently cursed himself. He did know better, in fact. But he and Jip had been having such a splendid time bounding through the waves, he'd simply ignored the storm warnings. A little cold spot in the pit of his stomach was growing. He hated that cold feeling. He had not even spoken its name. But it was fear. The glorious empty bowl of blue that had been the morning sky now featured stacks of boiling, cumulus clouds, all gone to darkening grays and blacks. Billowing towers of purple clouds loomed on the western horizon, swiftly turning the colors of an ugly bruise. In the last hour, clouds of spume came scudding across his bow and through the rigging of the Stormy Petrel. Above the howl of the elements was the high, keening whistle of wind in the sloop's rigging. Salt spray stung Nick's eyes, but he could still see the sky overhead boiling and black. Nick leaned hard into the Petrel's tiller, putting the weight of his lean body against it, fighting to keep his bow to windward of Gravestone Rock. He had both hands on the tiller, and they'd gone clammy and cold. Looking up in awe at the giant rock now looming before him, he wiped first one hand, then the other on his soaking trousers. The gravestone. A terrible thought shuddered unpleasantly through Nick's mind. Would that famous stone tower today mark still another watery grave? His own and his beloved Jip's? He cursed himself for his stupidity and leaned into his tiller with all his might. Hopeless. The bow refused to answer the helm, to come up into the wind. However could he keep his small sloop to the safe windward side of the massive stone, looming ever larger before him? And to the leeward side lay the 7 devils. On a calm day, Nick might pick his way through these treacherous reefs, but now, in a blow, they were deadly. He was fresh out of options. "And you call yourself a sailor, Nick McIver?" he cried aloud. But not even his dog heard his bitter cry of frustration above the roar of wind and water. He should have known better. There was a terrible price to pay for carelessness at sea, especially when you were anywhere near the gravestone. It was a towering monument of glistening black granite that now rose before him, thrusting from the sea like some angry tombstone. It had claimed the lives of skippers and sailors a good deal saltier than Nick and Jip. As Nick had known from earliest childhood, countless ships and men had gone to the bottom courtesy of the Gravestone Rock, or the 7 deadly spines of rock, spreading like tentacles in all directions from its base. The 7 devils, the reefs were called, and not for nothing either. Here was as fiendish a bit of coastline as ever there was. This perilous coast had finally led to the building of Nick's home. Even now, the great Greybeard light sent yellow stabs streaking overhead through the darkening sky. This flashing tower atop the cliffs off his port bow held special meaning for Nick McIver. It was both a warning to stay away and a summons to come home. For Nick lived atop that lighthouse. He was a lighthouse keeper's son, and now it looked as if the famous rock below it might claim the boy, if the boy didn't think of something, and quickly. If the gravestone doesn't get you, the 7 devils will.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?